Hey, welcome into the Big Chief Show. It's your boy Freddie D alongside the one, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only. I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's Christmas today. I mean, we're in the final stretch of a 4-day holiday, but it's been a Mike Babbo. You've had family, you've had food, and now
Now we're getting serious.
My first question is, look, I know how you live and die with your Las Vegas Raiders. God forbid they don't win today. Is it going to put a damper on what's been an otherwise wonderful holiday weekend for you?
No, Freddie D, it won't, because we're still facing the NFL's Super Bowl champs. We're facing the team that has whitewashed us 5 games in a row. The offense is still a work in progress, and I say that mildly. So, no, I don't even – I mean, look, it's a 9-point spread for a reason, even though they're in Vegas. I mean, we're still facing Fitting, for crying freaking out loud. We're still facing a guy we have no answer for, which is Travis Kelce. And even though the defense has been a huge surprise for Raider Nation, the offense continues to struggle, as evidenced by what happened last week. They had the game in their hands. I mean, look, last week at this time on our show, we were hoping that they were going to be competitive. I didn't even think that they were going to cover that 13.5-point spread, and they did, and then some. And they
did they?
What's that?
I said, boy, did they?
Boy, did they? And they had a chance to win
the
game.
I mean, you were in that game all the way
through.
You were
in the game. The defense forced 3 turnovers, but they held Miami to 20 points on the road, and AP was given a lot of flack for allowing the players to change up the travel plans, but it seemed to me the travel plans, at least the change, worked. And let's face it, I mean, the way they were doing it before wasn't working. They were 0-5 the last 5 East Coast trips, so. At least they were in that game, but this is a whole different story. This is the AFC, a divisional rival. Anything can happen, but until they figure out Travis Kelce, and obviously I know we're getting into this game already. I mean, Max Crosby is doubtful with his knee injury. And
what's the deal with your boy 98? What's his story today?
He's got a knee injury, which over the last 48 hours, it was all of a sudden that he was not going to play. But now reports are, according to Adam Schefter, and if you believe Adam Schefter, which you should, he's going to do everything. Max Crosby is going to do everything he can to try and play that game, which would be the first time this year a player listed as doubtful, which is considered as 25% chance of playing, will play. It remains to be seen if he does. It remains to be seen even if he does, how effective he will be. And let's put it this way: if he doesn't play, the Raiders don't have much chance of really putting any pressure on Patrick Mahomes, because the rest of the D-line has not shown up. Tyree Wilson, the first-round draft pick, I think only has 1 sack, maybe even a half a sack to his credit this year so far. Malcolm Kuntz is a nice player, but the rest of the D-line hasn't really done much, because Max Crosby has been getting a double team or triple team. So we'll see. Now, on the other side of the ball, we know that Jerick McKinnon, the running back, is out for the Chiefs. So is Kadarius Toney. And Mecole Hardman has been put on IR.
Yeah, that's a big that's really
big deal, right? I know. But
why did they trade for him? Okay? Like, I mean, that's the most Brett Veach move ever. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me just real quick, okay? Because I'm
frothing
a bit over here.
You're frothing.
Look, you got good Brett Veach, and then you got dumpster fire Brett Veach. Okay, good Brett Veach.
He's not dumpster fire Brett Veach.
Oh, look!
What the fuck are you thinking, Brett Veach?
No. Look. Okay. Dumpster fire Brett Veach he's a little guy, okay? There's not much there to him, okay? But when it involves anybody it's anybody on offense that's not named Pat Mahomes or a offensive line. Because if we really, and look, I've said this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it's worth being said, okay? Because if we're going to highlight and talk about, and look, the guy's done a phenomenal job, okay? Because when you have Pat Mahomes, you have a lot more, your margin for error is much greater. But for as great as he's been, revamping the offensive line after that Tampa Bay debacle, revamping the defense after what it's done the last 2 years, and make it into what is one of the best units in the league. He is equally as horrific at picking pass catchers, running backs, and tight ends. Like, literally, he is awful. I mean, if we're really being honest with ourselves, okay?
Skill positions, not so good.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, disaster, okay?
I think that's a little harsh.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a first-round pick, okay? If Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a third or fourth-round pick, we'd be A-okay with where he's at in this offense. You spent a first-round pick on a dude who's only on the team still because, A, he was a first-round pick, and B, you lucked out with Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round and made him like, fuck it. We can, win some, lose some. We got our 7th-round pick, who's our starting running back, and then we'll have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, for all intents and purposes, good teammate, knows your system, and doesn't cause any waves. Right? And there's something to be said for that, right? If this was the NBA, he'd be a role player. He'd be one of your, probably 7th, 8th, 9th guy coming off the bench. And that's what Clyde Edwards-Helaire brings. We don't hear any nonsense from him off the field. He does exactly what he's supposed to do, doesn't complain, doesn't go on social. Hey, you don't get a catch-all game? So what? Nobody cares, okay? Nobody noticed outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's family. And they're probably stopped watching, okay?
And you.
So when it comes to the running back group, when it comes to this wide, look, I just texted my son 30 minutes ago, had to explain to him what alligator arms meant. But more importantly, pointed out the fact that Justin Watson had 11 targets last Monday night. What planet are we on, Mike Babbo, where Justin Watson is your leading target getter for the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs?
One that's very poor in the whiteout room, that's for sure.
Okay.
Look, Freddie, I get it.
That's terrible.
It's been bad for the last 5 years or so. How long has Brett Veach been the GM there? I'm not really even sure.
He got there as a matter of fact, he got there in 2017. Okay. He was on the staff that picked Pat Mahomes. It was actually John Dorsey was actually the GM. So the Chiefs made that pick in the 2017 draft, and then that summer fired Dorsey and promoted Veach to general manager. But Veach was the guy who had already been scouting Mahomes. He went to both Dorsey and Andy Reid and was like, look, we need to get this kid. So no, and again, like I said, hats off to him, what he's been able to do. It's just, I guess it just shows the just difficulty in building an NFL roster from top to bottom that you can be so great and yet so bad at the same time.
So is it time finally to give one Richie James some looks?
He's getting them today regardless. They don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice.
He only got 5 wide receivers.
He was a healthy scratch last week after coming off IR. This is a guy who led what was his previous team? He had 4 touchdowns.
The Giants. Look, you can tell me that this guy was fucking Steve Largent with the Giants, okay? I don't care, okay? You can
give him a chance. Listen,
YouTube highlights. Show me his college, how he saved a kid from a burning building. I don't care. Okay? I don't care.
Fred, like Trump said in 2020 or 2016 to the African American community, what have you got to lose?
Look, that's the mentality I have anyway. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you're gonna keep throwing it to MVS so he can continue to drop 52-yard bombs. You're going to continue to throw it to Justin Ross?
They have no choice. Well, Justin Watson. Justin Watson. No, look, I'm with you 110%, bro. It doesn't, we're at this like place. And let me make this clear. And I want to make this clear you and I have been doing this, you and I have been either talking about sports, as friends or on air for about 5-6 years now. Like it's not the worst place to be as a Chiefs fan. Okay.
No.
If we're really thinking about it, right? Like we're a good wide receiver away, or just you know what? I don't even need good. I just need competent.
Decent.
That's all I need. You realize that the Chiefs right now are the only team or are one of 3 teams in the NFL that don't have somebody with 450 yards receiving? Like, we're going into week 12 and Pat Mahomes doesn't have a receiver with over 450 yards? That's crazy talk to me. And that to me shows just how terrible these receivers are, that you can't even look good with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of fucking mankind throwing you the football. And you're still terrible. And you're what was that dude's name? What was the remember that kid from what was it? Back in the day when whether it was Brady, whether it was Peyton, and they would always march out these dudes that you never heard of. Austin Collier, for instance. Remember Austin Collier? All right. Like that's but imagine, but the thing that people forget is that you had an Austin Collier, but you also had a Reggie Wayne. You also had a Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have, what we've got? We've got 5 Austin Colliers. Okay. That's the problem. All right. That's the issue. We've got our Peyton. We've got our Brady. We've just got 5 Austin Colliers. And unfortunately, the closest thing we've got to Reggie Wayne is Travis Kelce. And he's in love and hasn't been the same and may or may not be on the outs. So that's, look, it's a 9-point spread.
Yeah.
I think Max Crosby finds a way to win. And I'm going to take it one step further. I do think you see, if this offense gets stuck in the mud again today, I do think you're going to see your boy Garoppolo.
Yeah, you said that last week, and that really didn't happen. But maybe if that 3rd interception would have happened earlier in the game instead of the last play, you may have been right. AOC is Aiden O'Connell, the 4th-round pick out of Purdue for the Raiders.
I think you're cursing him every time you call him AOC, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. I need to stop doing that because what I do is I basically drop his IQ by about 80 points when I do.
No, you absolutely do.
But
80 might be conservative.
Yeah. But Aiden O'Connell is saying all the right things about taking care of the football, but saying it and doing it are 2 different things. He still held on to the ball too long in Miami. He still threw two horrible picks. And I don't even think the 3rd one was, that bad. But I think what happened is that he had too much air under the ball in his last one. But be that as it may, the offense just didn't move the ball. So I still don't think that you're going to see Jimmy G unless Adrian O'Connell gets injured.
Okay.
Or unless if he's like 8 for 20 or something like that, or 4 for 15 with 2 picks, then
unless it's a complete dumpster fire.
Unless it's a complete mess, then I don't think you're going to see him. But that again, like last week, I don't see much of a path of victory for the Raiders, especially if Max Crosby doesn't play.
If Max Crosby doesn't play, y'all are in a world of hurt because, like you said, say what you want about the Chiefs not having any receivers. It adds a different level when A, you don't have receivers, and B, you got guys getting in Mahomes' face. And if you don't have your boy Max Crosby, I think you roll him out there just to kind of see what he can give you, and if you find out after a quarter or so,
what happens.
Or the Chiefs just roll down the field
for sure, but I think he'll go through the pregame warm-ups for sure, Freddie D, and then we'll see what happens. But it all depends upon who gets the final say. If it's Max, then he's definitely. And here's the other thing too, Freddie. Their bye is next week.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. You get 2 weeks off.
We get 2 weeks off. He would get 2 weeks off. And so, but on the flip side, this is an AFC West matchup here. I mean, this is against your rival. This is against the standard that you're shooting for, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. This would go a long way towards, and I'm not implying that AP is playing for his job by putting him out there. But this would go a long way towards if the Raiders somehow pull a rabbit out of their hat and win this game with Max Crosby on the field, this would check off a box towards Mark Davis removing the interim tag from Antonio Pierce's title. But again, it all goes back to the offense. And remember the tease I gave you last on Wednesday. We gave our listeners Wednesday. That had nothing to do with Aiden O'Connell. It had nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. It had to do with some Achilles heel of the Chiefs defense and the Raiders pedestrian. I used the word pedestrian offense on how they could exploit that one weakness of the Chiefs defense. And that is their performance, the Chiefs defense performance against the run. Now, when you measure total yards and yards per game, the Chiefs are very good. And if you look at yards per game on the flip side, on the opposite side of the ball, the Raiders at 79 yards per game are very, very bad. They're 31st. However, you could take all those statistics the first 8 weeks of the season and throw them in the trash, because that is the legacy of Josh McDumbass, who, by all accounts, abandoned the game plan and certainly abandoned the run way too early. Whereas, huh?
Did you just call him Josh McDumbass?
Josh McDumbass, Josh McDumbshit, whatever you want to call him.
I thought that's what I heard. Okay, just making sure.
Because it's another piece of evidence, called an Exhibit 127, as to the Raider Nation prosecution that they brought forth when they said that Josh McDaniels was trying to destroy this franchise. And one of the pieces of evidence is his early abandonment of the running game, especially when you have the 2022 rushing champion in your backfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so getting back to my point, the Chiefs the Chiefs defense is 28th in yards per attempt, allowing 4.5 yards per pop. So it's very, very important that the Raiders utilize their 2022 rushing champion and feed him the ball. You do three things. First of all, you protect O'Connell from doing something stupid, holding on the ball too long, throwing interceptions. You loosen up that defense and use Josh Jacobs to pound the rock. And also, on the flip side, you keep the two greatest weapons in the NFL, in my opinion, if not in the AFC West, on the sideline. And of course, I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. If you shorten this game, like they did back in October of 2020, even though it was a score of 40-32, you shorten this game, you keep fitting on the sidelines, you hold on to the ball, you have a chance to win.
You do. I mean, look, I applaud everything you just said. I really do.
However,
look, to me, this game starts and ends with Max Crosby playing or not. Because if he plays, I think it's going to lift the entire team.
Yes.
Look, Aiden O'Connell's not beating the Chiefs today. Okay.
No.
I'm gonna put that out there right now. Look, I love the Raiders because of Tecmo Bowl and because of Mike Babbo. All right. I am
appreciate that, Fred.
I am a Raiders. I had a Raiders jacket way back when. Shout out to Fred too. Apparently, back in the day, being in California, they gave me a little Raiders jacket, and I rocked one for a long time. Wow. That being said,
you must have been a lonely kid in Topeka, Kansas, wearing a Raiders jacket.
I don't think people were as violent back then. Not to mention, too, here's the thing. You got to remember, the Chiefs were garbage in the 80s. Like, remember, the Chiefs were that. The Chiefs were not a good football team in the 1980s. Okay? Yeah. So, 3-year-old Fred walking around with his Raiders sweatshirt on in, 1984, nobody cared.
Blame you? Yeah.
Fuck it, right? So, but look, Adrian O'Connell is not I don't care if you and I were suiting up for wide receiver today for the Kansas City Chiefs. Adrian O'Connell's not beating the Kansas City Chiefs today, okay? This is one of those deals where, the Chiefs are saying all the right things, but there's a level of embarrassment right now with this Kansas City Chiefs team, okay? This team is embarrassed, and I think, look, this is one of the most disappointing jobs Andy Reid and his offensive coaching staff have ever done. All right. This is more embarrassing than anything he's done in Kansas City.
Well, certainly last week. I mean, they had that game in the hand, and then they just, I don't know how. Sorry to interrupt you, Freddie.
Well, just think about it, man. I mean, we all know how great of an offensive coordinator Andy Reid is. We all know what an offensive mind Andy Reid is, okay? It is inexcusable for you to have one of the most embarrassing and worst offenses in the National Football League when on the flip side, you got the best quarterback in of the last 25 years. Like, it's inexcusable. Like, if this was Kevin Cobb, if this was Nick Foles, hell, if this was late stage Donovan McNabb, we'd be like, okay, we get it. No. Okay, like, you've got Pat motherfucking Mahomes here, man. Like, this is beyond it. Look, all week we heard about, and of course you guys know I'm a huge Mad Dog radio fan.
Sure.
Which I always get cut off before all the other people do. Just saying. Anyway, but this idea that suddenly the Chiefs miss Eric Bieniemy, and yes, I do think there is some aspect of his play calling, which was a little bit different than what we've seen out of Andy Reid and Matt Nagy. I'll give them that, but let's not pretend. Look, you weren't catching the ball any better with Eric Bieniemy. Okay, Eric Bieniemy wasn't going to go out there and catch the ball for MVS. I would say that I think some of the stupid gadget bullshit would probably get cut down on because our boy Eric Bieniemy is more of a straightforward, old school type of football guy like that. We wouldn't be seeing Blake Bell under center trying to snap balls and what have you. But I just feel like with today's game in Kansas, with where it's at, after what just happened, and the fact is that your offense is the reason why this football team is 7-3 when they should be 10-0. I don't care what has to happen today, but you better go out. You better have 20 to 25 carries with Isaiah Pacheco. Jerick McKinnon's not playing today, okay? Right. So, as you mentioned, your boy Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to play again, all right? Woo, 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 woo. All right, let's watch him do 5 carries and run into the backup offensive lineman as he usually does. I want to see somebody not named Travis Kelce make some plays today. I need to see somebody catch 4 passes today. That's it. That's it, Mike Babbo. Somebody needs to catch 4, not 8. Here, I don't want to confuse people. I want to see somebody not named Travis Kelce catch 4 passes today. That's it.
Well, you may be able to because the Raiders secondary is also banged up, Freddie D. Marcus Epps, their strong safety, is questionable. So is Roderick Teamer, although he was brought in from activated off of IR. Robert Spillane, their team captain on defense, one of the team captains on defense, who sealed the victory over the Jets with that interception. He's also questionable. We know about Max Crosby. I still think that Amik Robertson is dealing with the effects of a concussion. And let's face it, instead of Jack Johnson, they got Marcus Peters out there, and you know what I think about him. He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't tackle. He can't cover anybody. The only thing he's known for is running back pick sixes when the ball is thrown right to his chest. Fucking, I think the Chiefs receivers are going to get open. I really do. I know that you lamented the fact that they can't get open, they can't get separation. I'm absolutely convinced that they will get open against this banged up secondary, and especially against Marcus Peters, who can't fucking catch a call or cover anybody. He's just absolutely terrible. So are they gonna run the ball 25 times? I don't think so. But even though the Raiders' defense against the run is highly suspect as well, I think they're like 27th against the run. We'll see.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, I go back to this point. The Raiders have to shorten this game. They have to give the rock to Zamir White, but of course Josh Jacobs, and use the short passing and minimize the amount of times you depend on Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
And keep the time of possession. You have to play a mistake-free football game. No stupid penalties, no pre-snap penalties, especially if you're fucking at home. Okay, Andre James, are you listening? Okay, Dylan Parham, are you listening? Colton Miller is still questionable, but he's certainly expected to play. But again, he's just got to minimize the mistakes, stop the goddamn stupid turnovers. Both of these teams have problems taking care of the football. I think the Chiefs are -5 in the turnover ratio.
Yeah,
the Raiders are worse, -7. So
that's not good.
No, it's not good. Neither one of them are good at this.
All right, that being said, I like the Chiefs to win this game today. I'm teetering on whether or not I think they're going to cover the spread. I do think they're going to win the game outright. I think it, like I said, I'm kind of leaning towards whether or not your boy Crosby's going to play today. I don't think he's going to play. I don't know how effective he's going to be.
Yeah.
And look, this is going to be one of those games where if the Chiefs cover the spread, okay, they're back. If they don't cover the spread and the Raiders find a way to hang around, I think it's going to be a bigger issue. Just that. I think that's the date today is the Chiefs. They win, but it's by how much and how dominant and how impressive do they look on offense doing it. I'm going to say it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. I like the Chiefs to win today to the tune of 27-13.
So you think they are going to cover the spread?
I think they are going to cover the spread, but I think it's going to be one of those deals where we're going to look back and say it had more to do with the fact that Aiden O'Connell is Aiden O'Connell, and there's a reason why he's a fourth-round draft pick out of Purdue than anything the Chiefs did all that exceptional. I don't think we're going to have my take on today's game. No grand revelations after today. I think after you leave today's game and the Chiefs win, it's going to be, well, the Raiders kind of are. I mean, it's going to be they are who we thought they were. Yeah. Okay. Chiefs still got a good offense and the greatest quarterback, a good defense, and a shitty wide receivers. And the Raiders are a scrappy team with a rookie quarterback and their superstar was hurt, limited on defense today. And it showed as the game wore on. And I don't think we're going to learn anything about either team today that we didn't already know.
All right. Well, I've been jotting down some things. I agree with you 100% that whether the Raiders cover or not is highly dependent upon whether Max Crosby plays, but how effective he is.
That's it.
There's covering the spread, and then there's a blowout, right? Do the Chiefs cover the spread because of a late TD, last-second TD, or is it a consistent whitewashing of the Raiders and their defense? I am going to – gosh.
I think it's the former than the latter.
It's going to be the former. At worst, I think it's going to be the former. At worst, because the thing is that – and I don't want to even look at last year's blowouts because
I just don't think Aiden O'Connell is going to be able to move the ball up and down the field on the Chiefs defense.
No, and I don't want him to try. I want them to try and continue. See, here's the thing, Freddie D. The first half against the Jets, Josh Jacobs wasn't finding any holes whatsoever.
No.
But they kept at it. All right. And then he was able to rip off like a 52-yard run that set up the only touchdown. And I have faith in AP that he will stick with the run, unlike Josh McAsshole, okay, which he abandoned the run too early, way too early, every single game. He abandoned an all offensive scheme way too early. Anyway, be that as it may. The other thing that gives me that I'm looking at is, again, how effective is O'Connell going to be in taking care of the football? Because keep in mind, like we discussed already, Week 13 for the Raiders is going to be a bye.
Yeah.
And if he plays poorly, and if he gets benched because of poor play, then Antonio Pierce, Bo Hardigree, the interim offensive coordinator, and of course Champ Kelly, the interim GM, they will put their heads together and say, you know what? Are we going to use this week off to work out Jimmy G? Or at least throw the competition quarterback the competition for quarterback up for question.
Yeah.
Okay. They have to see some progress out of Aiden O'Connell in getting rid of the ball quickly, taking off occasionally when he has to, because let's face it, we talked about with NFL Hall of Fame
nominee
Henry Thomas, right?
Our boy
And
Henry.
he agrees that when a running quarterback demoralizes a defensive end, right? When they take off, like what Fitting does and what Rich Gannon used to do in the back in the heyday with the Raiders. I mean, he had 4.4 speed, for crying out loud. He drove defenses crazy when he couldn't find a receiver. And if you can't find Tim Brown or Jerry Rice open, for crying out loud, you take off for a 12-yard stretch, that's demoralizing. Anyway, if he takes care of the ball, if he runs, when it's strategically possible for him and it's effective for him, and if he holds on, if he gets a quick release, if he improves, then, okay, yeah, we got something going on. But if he continues to regress, and you've got a guy you're paying 3 years, $72 million, you're sitting on the bench, he's taken a team to a Super Bowl. Granted, the reason why you benched him is because he was throwing interceptions and he was getting hurt. But if AOC's doing the same things, then, let's bring him in. Let's try Jimmy G again. I don't know. I mean, this has the makings for a blowout. I don't think it will be.
No, I don't think it will be either. That's what I'm saying. When I say 27-13, I think it's going to be one of those deals where, it was just a situation where it wasn't a blowout per se. I mean, look, the Chiefs are going to plod along. We know it. Look, the thing that I see happening is the Chiefs are really good on their first couple possessions, usually with those scripted plays and what have you. So I expect to see that. I expect them to see, and look, I expect there to be a turnover. And that's what worries me a little bit about Adrian O'Connell is turning the ball over. And because that Chiefs defense, I mean, look, they made life hard for Jalen Hurts. They've made life hard for a lot of guys this year. And that's the thing that's so frustrating about this football team is that, finally the one group that has been kind of your albatross over the last 4 or 5 years that you're kind of like, man, if these guys could really get good, think about how scary we'd be. And then they finally do get good, and oh, by the way, your offense is suddenly a problem. So no, I think it's going to be a back and forth, but I just think the Chiefs are going to have too much at the end of the day to pull away. And I think the Chiefs defense is going to wear. It's going to be, like I said, I don't think we're going to learn anything new about either team after the game's over.
Yeah, it's really surprising because both teams are very similar. I mean, both teams struggle offensively. Both teams have had surprising success on defense. Again, we've talked about the turnover margin, so it's just a matter of who's going to make the fewer mistakes. Will the Chiefs finally score a point in the second half? That's another thing.
Got you.
3 straight games, Zippo. I mean, that's just.
I efforted to get our Hall of Fame nominee friend on the show. However, he's golfing, as you might imagine right now. So, what's your score?
Oh, God. 27-20.
Okay. Chiefs?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Moving along, Buffalo, Philly. This is it's not a must-win game for Buffalo by any means, but
I think
it's
so.
a must-win game for Buffalo. In the grand scheme of things, is it a must-win? Yes, there's a lot of football left. Well, we say a lot of football. There's 7 weeks left. By the way, Dana Holgerson's about to get fired. Not a huge surprise there. He's been an absolute dumpster fire this year. But that being said, when you look at that game's in Philadelphia, okay? Philadelphia 9-1, 4-0 at home, and of course they're feeling themselves after last week. I'll tell you what, Mike, this is going to come down to defenses and turnovers. When it's all said and done, you've got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. You've got one quarterback, though, in Josh Allen, who, we're starting to throw that whole, why are we not giving him a harder time? Why are we not giving him, the vitriol that other quarterbacks get? And I don't know. I don't know, and I frankly don't care one way or the other. I do know that, yes, this team has been kind of a It's been I mean, look, you already know, Mike, it's been an up and down ride. I've said time and time again that I think this team, everything kind of changed for them after the AFC Championship against the Chiefs, or excuse me, the AFC Divisional round a couple of years ago against the Chiefs. I feel like they haven't been quite the same team since then. A win today in Philadelphia would go a long way to getting this team back on track.
Yeah, well, they got the work cut out for them, like you mentioned. Philly is 4-0 at home, whereas Buffalo is 1-3 on the road.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen's going to try and take advantage of that Philly pass defense. They're ranked 28th in the league in yards per game defensively. This is I think this is a must-win game for Buffalo, strictly because their next two opponents after the bye next week are no slouches. They travel to Kansas City. And then they play the Cowboys in a tough divisional matchup. I mean, look, we know that the Cowboys have been beaten up on Little Sister. This is a time.
Wait a minute, you talking about Buffalo has to play the Chiefs in Dallas?
No. Buffalo plays Philly at Philly, then a bye, then they travel to Kansas City, then they're home against Dallas.
Okay, that's why. Well, you said a divisional. You said they had a divisional game against.
Well,
Dallas.
The Cowboys. Oh, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I meant. I'm all messed up.
Mike, have you had coffee this morning? Are you still? What's going on here? I know. Are you still tryptophan?
I was looking at Philly's schedule as well while I was talking about Buffalo's. But,
are you golfing today?
No, I played yesterday and the day.
How'd you do, by the way? Who won in you and the Baby Babo show?
Oh, he kicked my ass. My game's falling apart.
As we speak. So you're the Adrian O'Connell of golf right now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's maybe I need to get benched. As a matter of fact, I'm benching myself for the next couple of weeks.
Look, self-scouting, Mike. It's as vital as any part of the the process. What happened? But I thought you guys had your coaches with you yesterday too, though.
We only had them on Friday, and my teacher backed out. So,
you know what? Does he watch the show? Does he watch the show?
I mean,
coward!
Coward! It was really unfortunate because I could have used him.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it was a mess.
So what you guys do? Just shoot a threesome on Friday?
Yeah, and actually, his coach left after 9 holes. He had to, and we knew that going in. So,
okay. So who dominated on the back 9?
I don't know what he scored. I just know I scored pretty crappy on the back 9, considering that's the easier part. I had like 2 triples in the back 9. It was
just a rough day of golfing for you altogether.
It was just bad. And then yesterday was no better. It was windy. It was cold. And I just decided, you know what? Maybe I need to just put the clubs away and just focus on football.
Just took a time out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what?
I need a bye week is what I need to regroup.
Mike Babo benching himself.
Yeah.
Putting himself on a bye week. Will not be answering questions from reporters.
No. I'm on a blackout. Off limits.
Media embargo.
And if I get fined, fuck it. I don't
anybody.
Care. Yeah. I'll show up, but I may not answer any questions.
Talk to my agent. I'm done. I'm done.
Anyway, Philly's offense is really good, as we know. I mean, they've won 4 in a row. But this is also a pretty tough stretch for them as well. This is game 3 in a stretch of 6 games against teams with a winning record. They also have a huge matchup next week against San Francisco for supremacy in the NFC.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is throwing like an MVP candidate. 68.5% of his passes he's completed.
I was going to say, I would say he's your leader in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah, really. Almost 2,500 yards, 15 touchdowns. He does have 9 picks, though. But he's also missing, again, his one of his bigger weapons, Dallas Goedert, their tight end, is out with that broken forearm. They don't think he's going to miss the rest of the season, but we shall see. I think, and with the Eagles being a 3-point favorite at home, I think they will cover here because Buffalo just does not play well on the road, man, and they turn the ball over a lot. Thank God for their defense. They forced 19 turnovers, but they themselves have turned the ball over. So they're 0 in the turnover ratio.
This is you just hit the nail on the head earlier about the lineup that they've got over these next few weeks. Now, look, their last 4 games of the season, I mean, they should,
slide on by.
I was going to say they should moonwalk over those games.
Yeah.
Giants twice, Arizona, and at Seattle, who after
Right.
the other day, I mean, Seattle, they're 6-5. They're a middling team. I expect the next 3 weeks they'll be out of the playoff conversation as a whole. So that should be, unless
Right.
they can't spoiler at that point. But like you said, Mike, you got Buffalo, San Fran, at Dallas. So by far the most grueling 3-game stretch that we're going to learn a lot about this Philadelphia Eagle team over the next 3 weeks. Not that we don't learn about don't know a lot about them already. The spread for this game you said is what? 3.5?
No, -3. Philly -3.
-3. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Buffalo finds a way to pull off the upset today. This is the kind of win today that
Really?
Yeah, no. I think this is a game where, look, everybody's counting Buffalo out, okay? Everybody's counting Buffalo out. Nobody outside of Buffalo thinks they could win this. I mean, I'm sure there's a handful of people that do. But, this is a kind of game where this is a get-right game. And I know Philadelphia is not usually considered a get-right opponent, but I think when you look at where this team's at in Buffalo, the way they've played so up and down all year long, if you can find a way to beat Philadelphia at home today, some of that chatter starts to subside, and suddenly the conversation about them being an elite AFC team gets back into the conversation. I mean, look, Cincinnati's not the same team this year, and I don't care what anybody says. Your Browning's not making up for Burrow. That's the difference with this Buffalo team. Is I know they've been hit a little bit on the defensive side injury-wise, but the main components of this offense and this defense, for the most part, are still there. And maybe now, week 2 removed from the Ken Dorsey and all the excitement that came from that, I like Buffalo to find a way to eke out a win. And you said something earlier, 9 picks for Jalen Hurts. I would not be at all surprised if they're able to turn him over not once, maybe twice, and make them play a little bit ugly today. Plus, again, like you said, it's a little bit of a hangover for that rough Monday night game against the Chiefs on Monday night. I like Buffalo to win today, 24-23.
Okay. Well, I mean, you mentioned the late great Ken Dorsey. Not that he's dead or anything, but
he's not. He's still alive. As far as I know.
You know who took over for him is Joe Brady. You know who Joe Brady was, right? He was the offensive coordinator for that 2019 LSU undefeated team.
Yeah, no.
I all those weapons.
Didn't he go to Carolina right after
went
that?
To Carolina with Matt Rule, and that didn't work out because when Matt Rule got fired,
Although you could argue. The hell, he had Carolina trending in a better direction than what they're trending now.
He certainly did. And look, he got fired because Matt Rule got fired. And so, they basically cleaned house. So that probably was not Joe Brady's fault. And Joe Brady likes to use weapons, right? And so he's going to distribute the ball to Gabe Davis and, of course, Stephon Diggs. And he's going to mix in a little James Cook. And we will see what happens. Certainly they beat up on a good Jets defense last week. 32-9, I think it was, or 32-6. So, and Josh Allen had a hell of a performance last week. So we'll see what happens. But I like that pick. I still like the Eagles to cover because they are in Philadelphia, and I think they've got a lot to prove. Certainly, A.J. Brown's going to get into the mix more because he has been up until last week. And I like what Philly has been doing, especially forcing a lot of turnovers too. So,
Baltimore Chargers, what's that spread?
Baltimore Chargers. I've got that game at Chargers are +3 at home.
Chargers +3. This is a wonky game. I'll just make this quick. Must win for the Chargers. I say they squeeze out a win today by the slimmest of slim margins. I just feel like because they can move the ball up and down the field so much, I like them to win this game 27-24 over the Baltimore Ravens.
So the Chargers are going to be without Joey Bosa.
Yeah,
they do 2 things well. They force turnovers. They're +7 in turnover ratio. And they get the ball to Keenan Allen, 31 years old.
Still doing it.
I know. I thought he was like 41. He's ageless. But he already has over 1,000 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns.
Oh, he's balling this year.
He's absolutely balling. But the Chargers can't stop anybody.
No.
They are.
Therein lies the rub, Mike.
Right, exactly. They're 24th in defense, and 23rd in defense, and 24 points per game, which is better than I thought. But they are dead fucking last in yards per game through the air at almost 300 yards, 292 yards per game to be exact, through the air. So I still think Brandon Staley is coaching for his job. I mean, after 2 winning seasons, his first 2 years, they are now 4-6 and last, surprisingly last in the AFC West. But here's the thing. The over-under on this game is 47.5 or 48, depending upon which line you look at. Their under has paid off 7 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're just not scoring as many points as we thought. But again, the Ravens, they are 4th in offense at 27.5 points a game. Their defense is even better. They're allowing only 16 points a game. Lamar Jackson is taking care of the football. I just like the Ravens to go on the road and beat the Chargers. I'm going to call it 28-21. That sticks in my head.
Who? Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Okay. 28-21. All right. I like it. All right. We'll start wrapping this up because we know folks are getting ready for fantasy, and we got the 12 o'clock games kicking off here in just a moment. All right. So we'll kind of rapid fire these last 3 games. Houston, Jacksonville. Suddenly, this was a game that, look, let's call it what it was. I mean, I don't know that Jacksonville is surprising anybody this year with their performance. I mean, they've been a solid team. Again, beating the teams they're supposed to, losing to the teams that they're just not ready for prime time yet. But this game is one of those where, look, if you're Jacksonville, the Texans already beat the brakes off you earlier this year at your place. Now you're coming to Houston. Now you're playing against a Houston team that suddenly feels like, you know what, they might be the class of the AFC South. They're way ahead of schedule. You've got a possible coordinator of the year in Bobby Slowick. You definitely got the rookie of the year in C.J. Stroud, and then a potential coach of the year in one Mr. D'Amico Ryans. That being said, Jacksonville, if you lose this game today, you lose a tiebreaker to the Houston Texans if it comes down to that, and suddenly all the momentum and all the good vibes and all the Joey Lawrence, all the Trevor Lawrence is the franchise quarterback might take a back seat, and suddenly him being the clear-cut best quarterback in the division suddenly takes a back seat if C.J. Stroud is able to do what he's been able to do all year and win this game at home against a very good Jacksonville team.
Yeah, Jacksonville's won 6 of their last 7. Their only loss being at home to the Niners when they got walloped. But you know what? That's against the number 1 defense in the NFL. Their defense what's that?
No shame in that.
No shame in it. Not at all.
And they kind of did what you and I thought they were going to do. I mean, we thought that Jacksonville would at least hang around.
Yeah.
We thought that San Francisco was the better football team, and they're a little more tried and true and battle-tested. But
well, keep in mind, both teams are coming off of a bye. The Niners are coming off a 3-game losing streak. There were a lot of questions about Brock Purdy. He answered them that week, and then some.
Boy, did he.
Ironically enough, that's the one game that Christian McCaffrey didn't score a touchdown. They tried to get him that record. I think he was going for 17 in a row.
18 in a row.
18 in a row, which would have been an NFL record. And but they gave him the ball all 4 times in garbage time, and he couldn't score. Everybody knew he was getting the ball. Everybody in the stadium, everybody in the country knew he was getting the ball in that entire series. He couldn't break through either way. The Jacksonville defense they forced 20 turnovers. That's tops in the NFL. And like you said, Fred, before, this is a rematch of the Week 3 loss when they got pasted by the Houston Texans 37-17, where Trevor Lawrence went 27 of 40 for 279 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Trevor Lawrence is actually having a pretty good year. He's
He's
not like the scoreboard by any stretch of the imagination, but 68% of his passes he's completed, 11 touchdowns. He has thrown 6 interceptions. I think 2 of them were against the Niners. This is the last AFC South matchup for Jacksonville until the last week of the season when they travel to Tennessee and face the Titans. Defensive back Tyson Campbell is out with a hamstring injury. Zay Jones, their wide receiver, is also questionable with a knee injury. We will see. Both of these teams are very similar. They're both good against. They're both good offensively in the air, but not so good on the ground. Both defenses are good against the run, but not so good against the pass. So this could be an offensive shootout. I give the edge to C.J. Stroud, who's 5th in the NFL in attempts per game at 35.5. He's your runaway favorite for the offensive rookie of the year. It's in Houston. I'll bet you they're going to be wearing battle red today.
They are. They're wearing the entire red getup, in fact.
So, and you know that fan base is going to be loud and proud. And by far for me, Houston is the #1 tailgate city in the United States.
Easy, big fella. Easy.
No, they are. They are. I'm talking.
They're not better than Kansas City.
Yeah, they are. Oh, you know what? Then you're going to have to invite me to Arrowhead. Then
we'll go. I mean, first of all, the fact is that the stadium's full at Arrowhead. Versus, you can't say you're the best fucking tailgate and have your fucking
but don't they hold like 100,000 in that place?
What at NRG? No, 75, 72, something like that.
Yeah, well, you know what? Kansas City's had like decades to build a fan base.
Well,
they've only been around for 20 years.
Hey,
there are a lot of Houston Oilers fans that just said, no, I can't do it. I'm going to go with Tennessee. Whatever. So, either way, that is going to be a rapid fan base. They got a chance to get a leg up, like you said, on the AFC South if they sweep this series.
What's your score? Give me your prediction.
This is, I mean, the over/under on this game, I think, is 48, right? I'm going to call it 35-28 Houston.
High-scoring affair. All right. Well, I appreciate everything you just said. I like Jacksonville to win 23-20. I think they're going to come back, and I think it's going to be an ugly game. Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I think that's going to be the kind of the funny part. You got the kind of the flip-flop. All right. Houston goes down to Jacksonville and wins. Jacksonville comes to Houston and wins.
Returns the favor.
Returns the favor. And I think this is we're kind of on a must-win vibe this week, as we've already alluded to with a couple different teams. I think it's a must-win for Jacksonville. Jacksonville has to win this game today because all the work you've done to try to get to be one of the premier teams of the AFC. If you can't in year one of the Stroud, D'Amico, Bobby Sloat triumvirate, if you can't go into Houston and win after they've already beaten you at your place, you're never going to get there. So give me Jacksonville and our boy Doug Peterson and Lawrence to shock the world today. All right, real quick. I think Cleveland beats Denver today. I think the good vibes, while they're still great over in Denver and they've done a tremendous job, I think Cleveland again finds a way just because that defense is so dadgum good. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker between the two teams, but I do think Cleveland is going to score on another defensive turnover. Find a way to win today. I like Cleveland over Denver.
No, I like Denver's. I like their defense. I like the way they've been playing. Granted, they're still statistically 30th in the NFL with 27 points allowed, but you got to toss out that week 3 debacle in Miami.
What have they been over the last 3 weeks?
Right, and here's the thing too, Freddie D. In the last 4 games, they're plus 11 in the turnover ratio.
They're turning people over. I mean, they that defense has forced, I want to say, 11, 12, 13 turnovers or something crazy like that in the last 3 or 4 weeks. They had 9 back-to-back, for God's sake.
No, actually 12. Like I said, they're plus 11 in the last 4 games. So their only significant injury is their strong safety, P.J. Locke. He's questionable with an ankle bug. But Russell Wilson's taking care of the football. No interceptions since the Week 6 loss to the Chiefs in Denver.
That's huge.
That is huge. Again, this is at Mile High or whatever they call it. I still call it Mile High. I just think that with DTR, he was not great last week. He had less than 160 yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. I know you're banking on the defense. I love that defense as well. I just think that Broncos get it done because of the strength of the quarterback play. And look, I just think that their offense is much better than
Cleveland's.
Obviously Cleveland's.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you on that. As much as I want to change my decision, and I would not be at all surprised to see Denver win. You gave such a compelling argument. I'm going to go ahead and stick with Cleveland just because I'm going to
17. Let's call it 17-13. Broncos cover the 1.5 points.
Slobber knocker. I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to say 16-12.
Wow. Okay.
Now, you know what? I'm going to say 16-13 as well, just because I do think Denver will score at least 1 touchdown and kick a bunch of field goals. Last but certainly not least, I think Cincinnati upsets Pittsburgh today. I think Browning does enough. Pittsburgh's terrible on offense, and I just like Cincinnati to win.
Let me think about this. I think Pittsburgh with their new offensive coordinator that fired Matt Canada.
Matt Canada. Gone.
See you. Where is this game and where's the spread on this sucker?
You know what? I think the game's in Cincinnati.
Okay.
The game's in Cincinnati, and it is. By the way, Jake Browning hasn't started since 2019 when he was the quarterback for Washington, and I don't mean the Commanders. I'm talking about the Huskies. So there you go.
Yeah, Steelers 1.5 favorite. I think they. God, this isn't Cincinnati. Jeez. No T. Higgins still with the hamstring. I think Jalen Warren, they're going to feed him the ball a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're going to try and get George Pickens back involved in the offense. I think Pittsburgh prevails in this game. It's going to be a bloodbath. Let's call it 2017. Hell, 1917. Let's make it even closer.
All right. I'm going to stick with I'm going to go back to your 17-13 and use that as what I think the Cincinnati Bengals will do to the Pittsburgh Steelers today. All right. Well, look. We'll get back. We got Chiefs Raiders this afternoon. We're excited about that. That's obviously the game you and I are going to be most focused on. Real quick, if there's any other games I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Let's see, Monday night is what you've got. Who's our Monday night game this week? Monday night is the Bears in
Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, Bears in Minnesota, and then of course you get the Baltimore Charger game tonight. Go Chargers, go!
Oh, by the way, and Freddie D, I was half right in my hot take. Half right.
Which one?
My hot take about if it's a blowout in Dallas that Ron Rivera would not be able to get on the plane right home. Turns out they fired Jack Del Rio instead.
It's kind of I found that as kind of a blow to my boy Eric Bieniemy more so than anything. Just for the simple fact that I was thinking, if my boy if Rivera gets booted, that at the very least it would give Bieniemy 5 or 6 weeks to play interim coach and kind of see, all right, what is this? Give him his AP shot and see.
Well, I think he's going to get his shot anyway because now Ron Rivera is going to be focusing on the defense because he's the one who's going to be taking over the defensive play calling.
Yeah, but I guess, and I don't disagree with you there, but I'm just saying, it's a difference between he would still be the interim head coach, as you know. Look, Bieniemy, he needs all the extra chances he can get, considering what he's had to go through over the last decade or so, or at least half decade for sure, with the Chiefs. And to your point, look, I think he's done a tremendous job of proving what he's. I don't think you could have asked for a better scenario with what he's done in Washington and how bad the Chiefs' offenses look. Now, You could argue too, okay, how much of that is Eric Bieniemy? We could get into the whole, okay, how much of the impact has he had? How much of he hasn't? Whatever. I mean, look, I think it would be naive and it would be irresponsible to suggest that there hasn't been some fall off in the Chiefs offense without having Eric Bieniemy. I don't know that it's a huge drop off because, again, I don't know how much he has control over whether or not guys can, catch passes. But I do think the play calling has definitely suffered a bit without having Eric Bieniemy. So I think
Fred, this is a telltale. I mean, this is an old tale about how Andy Reid sits on a lead and then he changes it up for no good reason. I mean, this is.
No, but I don't think that's really been the case though with the Chiefs this year, though. I don't think that. I mean, look, getting a lead hasn't been an issue. You got to get the. I mean, has been.
Well, I know that's my point, but then he sits on a lead. I mean, this is what Andrew Reid has been done over the last 3 or 4 years. He sits on a lead, and then I mean, with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator, he's done that before. And let's face it, when certainly last year, and you pointed this out to me. Last year, when Patrick Mahomes would come off the field, go onto the sidelines, was he talking to Eric Bieniemy? Hell no. He was talking to Matt Nagy.
No, he always did talk to Matt Nagy. Now, on the flip side of that, you could argue too, Matt Nagy was his quarterback coach, right?
Yeah, so I understand that, but the thing I think we're placing a little bit too much emphasis on the exit of Eric Bieniemy and not enough impact on the loss of Juju Smith-Schuster. The loss of Tyreek Hill, okay? The continued age of also Travis Kelce. This guy's banged up. And what he has to go through year after year to get into football shape or get into playing shape week after week, it's taken a toll. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, he's gotten significantly more and more hurt. And that goes without saying. Eventually, it's going to catch up to him.
No, I don't. I think. I just think
and I see your point. I mean, look, the surprise has been, as bad as Washington has looked. It's all on their defense. Their offense is not half bad. They've taken great strides offensively for sure. Now, Sam Howell the problem is Sam Howell is getting sacked too often, right? I mean, he's averaging 5.5 sacks a game, right?
He's getting murdered.
He's getting murdered, but also because they are relying on him a lot. He's number one in the NFL in pass attempts per game at 44. Is that a lot to put on the shoulders of a guy who's only going to be starting his 14th NFL game? I think so.
No, I mean, look, I guess my thing is this, is that just, and of course, I follow way too much Chiefs Twitter, and of course, everybody's jumping on the whole, we can't believe look at what the Redskins are doing and look at what we're doing or not doing. Look, at the end of the day, I'm with you. I don't think it's the end all be all losing Eric Bieniemy, and I would put that in a, I would put him leaving the Chiefs as a small reason as to why. And I think it has more to do with just his personality and just the way he goes about handling his business. I think that's as big a loss and how he deals with guys. And again, I think some of the play calling, because he's probably a guy that's not afraid to push back on an Andy Reid when there's something he doesn't like. So either way, look, bottom line, wide receivers can't fucking catch. Justin Watson's getting too many targets, and you got the best quarterback in the world and fucking, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I don't.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Anyway, look, Mike Babbo, always fun catching up with you on a Sunday morning. We're going to have a lot of fun, Absolutely. And there will be a lot of shit talking going on. I'll tell you what, we will tweet out something before the game starts. We got to have some sort of bet on today's game, if you're up for that. I mean, I pretty much know we're going to win the bet. So, whatever you feel like losing, Mike, whatever you feel like losing, that's up to you. So you tell me, and I will be certainly happy to oblige. But in any event, you guys enjoy the game you guys enjoy the games today. I know Mike and I certainly will, and then we'll catch up with you this week and recap week 12 and get you ready for week 13 as well. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know I certainly did. I know Mike certainly did. And hopefully your golf game was better than one Mike Babbo's. For the one, the only bit of Mike Babbo, I'm still that dude, Freddie D, from H-Town to Kansas City, San Antonio, and all points in between. Enjoy the games on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. Good afternoon. We love you.
See ya.
Boom. Boom.
Beautiful.